It's taken me such a long time to work out how to begin this new series. Not through a lack of willingness, perhaps in fact through a bit too much willingness, maybe, or willingness. I've thought and thought and thought, and then I remembered that what I actually need to do is feel. So I decided to do that instead. And of course, it showed me the way in. So before I sort of head off into that, I just want to also note our new name for the podcast as well. It did actually take quite a long time to come up with it. And to say that after a year of support, the wonderful Angus is now letting me fly solo. So I'm now producing these episodes myself, which feels quite exciting and scary simultaneously. And if you notice any random glitches as I find my feet, please forgive me. We are all learners at this game of life. So just coming back to that theme of why it felt difficult to come into this new season, or not difficult, that might not be quite the right word, but just I felt a slowness in terms of how to approach it. I couldn't quite work it out for myself. And an aspect of this is something that I posted on Instagram, which was that I'd been struggling to get moving after my August break. And I'm also really mindful actually about using words like struggling and difficult. It's interesting, there are things that are coming out of my mouth as I'm saying all this. It doesn't necessarily feel like a struggle, but just something that I'm noticing that it's harder for me to get moving after my August break. So you might already know that every year I take a whole month off in August. I take the month off from seeing my private clients, from running events, from recording the podcast, from speaking, at other people's events and all of those things. And I have a very strict embargo on social media during that month. And I come completely off it, including my own private gratitude practice, which I share on 21 Beads of Gratitude on Instagram. So I even sort of stopped doing that publicly. I just do the gratitude privately. So I come completely off social media. And it's something that I held as a really clear intent for how I wanted to create my own business. And it's been a beautiful and a much needed shift from my old style of working, to be honest. I've shared more about some of my old working patterns, which were deeply unhealthy. And this feels incredibly healthy and boundaried for me. And I've done a lot of work on boundary setting, particularly on that innate desire that so many of us have, which is to please others at the detriment of time for ourselves. So I am very, very clear on what I will and what I won't do during that month of August. It really is my time. But coming back from a long break, from any break, can feel really hard. And in the post, this is what I wrote. So I just thought I'd share what came up for me in the time of writing that message. So I wrote, "It's taken me a while to get back into the swing of things. And to be honest, I'm still not quite there. A month of slow is asking for a slow return. And as ever, it's important to honour what's going on inside. But blimey, the desire to beat myself up about not getting all busy is feeling strong. So today I'm sat in the garden in my favourite place, doing some thinking, planning, reflecting. It's working wonders. So slowing down even more is, of course, the thing that's helping me speed up." And then I closed by saying, "I hope you find time this week to enjoy To enjoy, easy for you to say, enjoy our beautiful early autumn sunshine. I wrote it during that gorgeous week at the beginning of September that we had in England. And I hope you are able to treat yourself gently if you too have that desire to push into action, but still find you need a little more time. And this simple post, a simple sharing of how I was feeling in that moment, it provoked such a range of comments from people, including some of these that I thought may be useful to share. They may resonate with you too. So from at VW23, they wrote, "You've put this so well," or so well. Thank you. Slow down to speed up. From Cha Cha NC, "Isn't this the truth? Definitely feeling this after just 1 week off. Thanks for sharing." From at the Women's Brain Project, "Thanks for sharing, Henny. Feeling exactly the same." From at Anna Malak, "Perfect words. Thank you." I think, these simple responses and the number of people who reacted to the post, it just shows how for so many of us, this urge to push into action, to push into busyness, can feel really strong, where even while our inner voice, our internal system is saying, actually, I need space, I need to slow down, I need more time. And someone else commented from at Mindful Menopause, Henny, this sounds very familiar. Slow is the way to go. And that's, obviously why this episode is titled the way that it is. So that's prompted the topic for today around slowing down to speed up. So how do we create that space for ourselves? How can we become kind enough to know what truly must be done and to sense into what we most need? And creating that balance is so important for us all, and is particularly vital when we are exhausted. But it feels important even when we come out of a time of rest, that we don't just push ourselves into a frantic time of busyness. And one comment really struck home from at Mary Taylor, Menopause Rockstar. And she wrote, "I think the realization that I've been working for 40 years and at the grand old age of 54, it's time to actually enjoy this thing called life and stop and smell the roses." Over the last year, like many, death, disease, and the erosion of what I knew to be true has occurred. And I've taken the time to stop and evaluate rather than continuing to push through. I'm tired of running. I feel like I've been running forever. Not sure where all that came from. Well, actually, I do. I suppose I'm just no longer afraid to share it, and your words resonated so much with me as I see so many women who enjoyed and flourished, not all, I know, through lockdown, saying they would uphold some of this new way of being, and literally within a week, they were back in Superwoman, and it just makes me sad. So keep enjoying the slow return, my lovely. I mean, what a beautiful message. I think there's so much in there, and it really resonates how, whether it's coming out of a time of enforced lockdown that, we've all experienced in some way around the world, or it's coming back from a time of holiday, a time of, where we've created that distance ourselves, coming to the end of that and then pushing ourselves straight back into that superwoman mode or that superman mode, just feels like it's not treating ourselves as fairly and as kindly as we could. So, my reflection here is that we're all creating our own version of reality right now. What's right for me may not be right for you, and that's okay. And what's right for you may not be what's right for your siblings, your friends, your colleagues, your children, your partner, whoever, and that's okay too. And fundamentally, the more compassion and understanding we can bring to ourselves and to others, the better we will all be, the better we will all feel. And this theme around what's our experience when we come back from a break, when we come back from holiday, sparked a second thought. Because, of course, I'm not immune to that inner critic, as I noted in the post, that kind of, how hard it can feel to not push into action and to stay in the calm. And to be honest, it's been hard to see what truly needs to be done and to remember to sense into what I most need. But as Glennon Doyle says, we can do hard things. So even if it feels hard, we can still get it done. And we can still manage things in the best way for us. So anyway, so this second thought was, does it feel hard for me because I've been away so long? Have I forgotten that it's hard every September? And a slightly tougher thought is, if I didn't go away so long, would it be less hard? Have I created this hard for myself by doing something that felt easy? So that risk there of the judgment coming in, saying, well, if I hadn't taken the holiday, I wouldn't be feeling like this, and I'd be able to get on with stuff without it feeling difficult. And there are some who feel that it's better to take shorter breaks, to take long weekends rather than a couple of weeks or a month at a time. And the reason being that the beneficial effects of time off fade after time. So we can begin to forget that we've been away. And so the reasoning goes, if we're away more often, we can get that spike in feeling good more often. So if you imagine a chart, like a graph, where the line goes steeply up when we go on holiday and then slowly drops back down once we've returned, that peak and drop would become a regular feature across the map of our year, rather than having kind of one huge peak and then a slow decline maybe once or twice a year. So this idea of things returning back down to a baseline level reminds me of hedonic adaptation, or the Hedonic Treadmill, as a study in 1971 called it. And so this idea is that essentially, the finding is that essentially within each of us, we have a happiness set point, a personal happiness set point, which means we tend to maintain a constant level of happiness throughout our life, regardless of things that raise or lower our mood. And whatever happens, whatever sort of crisis or joy we experience, we're going to eventually return to that set point. And in the study that I just referenced in 1971, it was seen as a treadmill, since in their findings, no matter how hard someone tries to increase in happiness, they remain in the same place. However, and this is however written in capital letters with little flashy sparkles all around it, we now know that we can increase our overall happiness levels. And it's not, big surprise here. It's not through things like material success, earning more money, getting endless promotions in a job that we don't really love, having a bigger car, having a bigger house, whatever. It's through deepening our practice of things like meditation and profound self-care. So not judging or criticizing ourselves endlessly, but always showing ourselves deep compassion, because of course that's what enables us to bring compassion to others. And it's through allowing ourselves to be really, truly, deeply present with everything that our life involves. And and in relation to those peaks and troughs that I was talking about on that graph idea, that graph is our holiday effectiveness graph, as I might have called it when I was back in my corporate life. Actually, we cannot ignore the longer term benefits of deep relaxation and of deep rest. It's not just about a sort of peak when we're on holiday and then a drop down to this kind of set point, and there's no other benefit other than that. There's actually a much deeper benefit of having this time for ourselves and really, really focusing in on whatever deep self-care means to us. So the answer to my own question about have I created this hard, would this be feeling less hard if I hadn't taken such a long break, is no. It's a very simple response. Now wouldn't be less hard if I'd taken a shorter break. The reality of my reality right now is that I'm feeling slow, and that's okay. And the enormous benefits to that long break, that time away, that time I spent mostly in nature. We went off in our van and camped for a month, are something that I would not be without, even though now might be feeling a little bit, interesting at times. And of course, all of our lives are completely different. And many of us, I completely recognize that many of us may not have the time or the opportunity or the inclination to take such a long break. But there are things that we can all do to bring that state of restfulness to us so we can get those short-term benefits that the studies were sort of looking at, and also get those longer term benefits that I've been referring to. So a really simple thing is just to take a break from social media, not just a few hours or a day, but maybe come off it for a week. I mean all of it, a week, a fortnight, or a month, like I did. And I say this as someone who runs almost the entirety of her business on social media. So, obviously it's good for me for people to be on social media. It's how I connect with them. But I also recognize the value of not being enslaved to it. So Instagram, Facebook, even YouTube and things like that. I know it's not strictly speaking social media, but it still sort of plays a similar role. They hold such value and they hold such amazing content. They really do. And there's such wonderful things contained within them. And personally, I've connected with some amazing people there, but they are also time and attention thieves. And as we all know, there can be a lot of content on there that's not that beneficial. And so when they start owning us, when they start calling the shots about how our attention is directed toward them, we can find ourselves getting caught in things that actually aren't that beneficial as well. So that time away helps us reset and rebalance that relationship. And as I'm sharing this sort of idea of taking a week or a month away from all forms of social media, the inner conflict that you may be noticing at that idea of disappearing for a while, of stepping out of it for a while, could be the perfect indicator that it's a really useful thing for you to try. I know myself, I recognize the little voice in my head, the little struggle that goes on when I step away. The part of me that goes, well, is this going to adversely affect your business? Your client's going to be bothered. The people who listen to the podcast, are they going to mind that you don't show up? And actually just being able to hold myself safely and say, it's okay, my darling, it's okay. This is your choice about how you spend your time. And this is important for you. And in order for you to show up more fully, this time is necessary. So, whatever the words of comfort or encouragement that you may need to say to yourself, just allow yourself to hear those words from yourself. So another technique could be to stop listening or watching or reading the news. I've talked about this quite a few times on the podcast about how destructive the news can be and bring us into a really negative thought spiral where we start to worry about things that we cannot control, and it can have a really insidious effect on our anxiety levels and our happiness. So again, for a week, for a fortnight, for a month, see how it makes you feel to not be consuming the news all the time. And if it induces anxiety to not know, in huge inverted commas, what's happening 24/7, then that may be a beautiful opportunity to press up against your own discomfort and see what's really sitting there, what's provoking you to want to know what's going on, and how could it benefit you to actually give yourself a little bit of space from that kind of negativity. And then a third technique for creating a sense of spaciousness, a sense of rest in your life without having to take this whole month off or be on a holiday at all. If that's not available to you right now, then a third technique could be committing to time with yourself. I mean, it sounds so simple, doesn't it? But it's such a tough thing for us to commit to when we're not used to the habit of it. So, setting aside 10 minutes a day or an hour each morning, maybe even an hour each morning and each evening, perhaps a day, a week, a couple of days, a month, like whatever feels available to you, to give yourself time to relax, to really feel into what you most need, and to be free from distraction and demands from external sources, whether they're people or ideas or, what we think we're expected to do within society or social mores. And to be grateful for that time and attention you're showing yourself. And in these sort of micro moments, if it's just 10 minutes a day, we can find that we can access all of the deep benefit of some time away, some time, away from those distractions, almost like a mini holiday for ourselves. So for me, all of these things can help create some of those same benefits that I get from my months off. And they're things that we can all do without totally shutting down our businesses or taking sabbaticals from work or education, and understanding, experiencing the impact of that time away, again, inverted commas, from things we consider to be normal or unavoidable, can be a wonderful and a really, really curious thing. So, coming back now to the idea of slowing down in order to be able to see what really needs to be done. I had a dream the other day, and in my dream, I imagined I was preparing for some big event or occasion. I'm not sure what it was. I am preparing for a big event right now with the launch of The Heart of Change. My second book is coming up later this month. And so I am doing some thinking and preparing for that. And clearly that's what sparked the dream. But in this dream, it was a highly complex, multifaceted event, or that I was preparing for, creating. I'm not sure quite what it was, and it was highly complex in its need for simplicity. And I dreamt that I rushed at it. I dreamt that I sent out messages and emails and social posts all over the place, and I did it all too fast. It was unfinished, it was unedited, it was incomplete. And in the panic that followed, and I really felt this in my dream, in the panic that followed, I couldn't find how to fix it. I couldn't open the different systems and, online programs and all of that I use. I couldn't open things. I couldn't find my way to make it right. And I had no idea in my dream how to control the damage and the confusion that I'd created from rushing at it, from doing everything too quickly. I didn't know how to stop people from thinking I was a fool, that I didn't know what I was doing or how to do it. And then I heard a voice, and this voice simply said, "This isn't real. You don't have to worry about this." And it cut through the melee in my mind. And in my dream, I simply replied, "Oh." And I stopped trying to fix what had never been broken. So there are a couple of metaphors here. One, that rushing, busyness, haste don't produce the best results. Taking our time to feel into what's right helps us create the most beneficial outcome. And the second metaphor, there may be others that came up for you. I'd love to hear what they are if they have. But for me, the second metaphor here is that we so often spend our time worrying about things that have never happened, agitating our mind, expending our energy, getting concerned about what to do, like how to begin a new season of a podcast, for example. When the concern, the tension that we've created around it just isn't real. We don't need to worry about it. All things will find a way. We don't need to fix what has never been broken. With so much love, and thank you so much for joining me today. I am endlessly grateful for your attention. And it's just wonderful to hear your comments and your thoughts, and please do keep sharing. So come and find the Henny Flynn group on Facebook. Follow me at Henny Flynn on Instagram, and do sign up to the newsletter as well. Just drop me a note, henny@hennyflynn.co.uk, and I'll make sure that you get added to the mailing list, where I share thoughts, musings, and some links to other wonderful teachers and ideas. And also you'll get a notification each week when the new podcast is published as well. And also just to say that, as I mentioned, The Heart of Change is being published this month. I am so excited about her coming into the world. She's been 3 years in the writing, and actually I wrote her alongside the time of writing My Darling Girl. And the book, I call her she, the book is all about an exploration, a personal exploration of how it is to look at change through some different lenses on a very sort of personal level. So there's lots of self-reflection and different activities that you can do to help sort of dig in a little to what your own thoughts and experiences are. In a sense, it's a book for doing some self-coaching. Um, and, and of course, if there are things that you've got going on that you really would like some more support with, someone to walk beside you for a while, um, to share with, and to prompt and challenge and support you in your own thinking, then do get in contact with me about exploring how coaching could benefit you. It would be wonderful to talk and wonderful to work with you. Okay, my darlings. So take care and be safe. And I send you a hug and a wave.